What up, folks? It's Tim again, your boy Chicago. I'm actually on the road on this one, and I'm just making this video pretty quick, pretty impromptu, and mainly it's because I'm just pissed the fuck off. There's nothing good I'm gonna say here, but I'm definitely gonna ask some questions, and I want to know where people's mindsets are. Where you coming from with this shit? As usual, if you want to, you can go ahead and subscribe. If this one is one that turns you off so bad you hit the dislike, unsubscribe. I know where you're coming from. Like I said, I know a lot of my audience is right wing and they ain't trying to hear this shit, but I have to ask these questions. As you know, Derek Chauvin and George Floyd has been found guilty on all three counts, etc., etc., etc. I made videos about that. I'm not even attempting to go into that right now, but he was found guilty, I believe, on Monday. Here it is Saturday, and there are multiple cases, new cases in the news since that shit happened. And it just leads me to the question that I often hear. Like I said, I debate right-wingers all day, every day. And one of the most popular sentiments that even came from President Trump himself is that cops kill more white people than blacks. I've talked to people online. They say the same thing. Cops beat up more. They wrongfully treat more people. They wrongfully treat white people even more so than blacks. We're going to talk about that. Since George Floyd's killer, Derek Chauvin, and I can say killer now because he has been officially convicted. It's not alleged or any of that shit. He's actually a convicted killer. Since George Floyd's killer has been convicted, we got Kim Potter coming from Brooklyn City, or Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, right outside of Minneapolis, where George Floyd went down. She actually claims that she was trying to tase Derek Wright, and instead she shot the dude in the chest and killed him. No doubt Derek Wright was resisting arrest. No doubt it was a legitimate traffic stop. Let's just get that shit out the way. I don't want to hear about he was resisting. And we know he was resisting. As a cop, you're going to deal with people who resist arrest. Everybody's not just going to bow down. We wouldn't need cops if that was the case. So the argument of he was resisting arrest and he would just comply, we know that he was not complying. He was a criminal. He had a warrant out for him, etc., etc. 100% legitimate arrest. She went to grab her taser during the struggle and grabbed her gun and shot the dude and killed him. Now, her name's Kim Potter. She's a 26-year veteran of the Brooklyn Center, Minnesota police. Now, they charged her. They actually charged her with, I believe, manslaughter or something of that nature. Who knows if it's going to stick, but the biggest question is, how could you not tell the difference between a gun that weighs about 3 times as much as a taser? It's made of a different material. The trigger mechanism is different. It's a bright color. It should be on the opposite side of the body, all of that. But that is just one case that's in the news. And who knows what's going to happen with that. But like I said, she has been charged. Then we go to Columbus, Ohio. And this one has happened since what I just mentioned with the taser and the gun and with Duante Wright. This one has happened since that. Columbus, Ohio, Makia Bryant, she is a 16-year-old female, or was a 16-year-old female. Cops showed up. She was in the process of fighting. In fact, looks like the whole ghetto-ass neighborhood was out there fighting. And I say ghetto because I don't care what you're doing, if the cops show up with sirens and shit going, this is not the place to continue doing this. It's just going to get worse. Anyway, they showed up and jumped out the car, and she was in the process of accosting someone with a knife. I'm not going to say she was trying to stab him, but I'm only saying that to be generous toward her because I look at the video and it looks like she clearly was trying to stab the girl. Anyway, the cops put a few rounds in her and she died. And that one is also making the news, and there's a lot of uproar about it. My take on that one is that is a justifiable shooting all day, every day. If the cops show up and I'm pinned against the car or running away from somebody with a knife at that range, it wasn't like they were 10 feet down the street and 10 feet apart. She was on her. You show up and see me that close to being stabbed, or my child or somebody, I want you to open fire too. So even though this one is in the news, if I'm the officer sergeant, I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll talk to the media for you. It is a legitimate shooting all day, every day. I understand the sentiment of comparing this to, say, Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, where the cops also approached the scene, or also was at the scene, and he had a an AR-15 slung across him, and he walks right past the cops as if he's one of them, and they don't say anything to him. And even though I've mentioned before, I think that Kyle Rittenhouse's shooting there in Kenosha, Wisconsin was also justifiable. The only difference is he should have been stopped and asked some questions. You can't just shoot somebody in self-defense, leave the bodies on the road, and walk right past the cops. You should have a duty to at least tell the police officers you shot somebody. And he didn't do it. He was able to walk right by it and ask any questions to him at all. And he ended up ultimately leaving the entire state and going to Illinois. So I don't compare Kyle Rittenhouse to what happened in Columbus, Ohio, other than the fact that in Ohio, they saw a black person in a scene of violence and automatically assumed she was a lethal threat, which I do too, and they shot her. And in Kyle Rittenhouse's case, he's also at a scene of violence, and he's clearly armed, and he walks right on by. Like I said, I think Kyle Rittenhouse had a legitimate shooting, but he absolutely should have been stopped. An investigation should have been performed, and et cetera, et cetera. There's arguments that he wasn't even allowed to have the weapon that he had on him. So the idea that they just let him walk by with people in tow chasing after him, yelling, he just shot 2 people, and they didn't do anything to him. So the only comparison I will say is that it definitely does look like, if you compare those two, cops saw white and thought he was a good guy. Cops saw black and said, we need to kill her immediately. And I'm saying that as a person that would have shot Ma'Khia Bryant as well. But I also would have stopped Kyle Rittenhouse at gunpoint because he's walking down the street with with an assault rifle, an AR-15 on his hands. And like I said, there's people chasing, yelling. He just shot 2 people. How he gets to walk by without anybody stopping and detaining him and asking him any questions at all, just, it's baffling, other than somebody looked at him and said he looks like what could be a good guy. So, like I said, I'm not arguing that I'm definitely saying that I believe his shooting was justified, but to not stop the guy, to not ask the guy any kind of questions at all, and allow him to completely lead the state, there's no excuse for that. Now, in addition to Ma'Khia Bryant Miss Stabathon at age 16 being shot and killed, we now got another one that's coming out. I didn't write the individual's name down. I believe his name is Andrew Brown. I should have did a little bit enough homework to write that down before getting on this video. But I'm just so pissed off because this stuff just keeps happening. In this case, you have an issue where you have a dead black guy, and I believe his name is Andrew Brown. I'll put it in the comments, the links that are currently out to this story. I don't know how old Andrew Brown was, but I'll put it in the, like I said, I'll put it in the comments, a link to this story. This is a ongoing breaking news developing story. This shooting just took place a day or 2 ago. Anyway, since the shooting, there's been outcry, and 7 deputies that were involved in this particular scene, 7 deputies have since been placed on leave. 2 more deputies have resigned and 1 has retired. This event has been captured on body cam, and the police department is fighting not to release the body cam. This happened in North Carolina. I believe it was Elizabeth City or Elizabethtown. Once again, I will post a link in the description. But according to North Carolina's law, they do not have to release body cam footage, particularly if the case is under investigation or something of that nature. This is something, when you talk about defunding the police and police reform, if you got body cam footage of a dead guy, you should have to release it. Now, it's different if, you got footage of somebody shot, say doing an undercover drug sting or something like that. You don't want to out somebody, or you got confidential information on something else that is ongoing. I can understand maybe not releasing the body cam to the immediate public. But when you got basically what's an open and shut case, you got to coordinate him, who was a bad guy, they shot him and he died. Okay, then why aren't you releasing the video? So it looks bad. It doesn't look like they're trying to be very transparent, because anytime the cops are involved in what's considered a justifiable shooting, that body cam footage is released really damn quick to prevent people from saying, well, look, the guy got shot in the back, and they got footage of the guy running, and he turns to fire a shot over his shoulder or fire a taser or whatever weapon he got, and they have to shoot him, and the rounds go in his back, to prevent people from going nuts when the autopsy says rounds are shot in the back. The video footage is released very quickly. But for some strange reason, anytime it's controversial, the cops are fighting to release the footage, and you got to go through Freedom of Information Act. There's lawyers, you got to go to court, and all of this is what's taking place right now in North Carolina. So, if cops want to improve their relations with the public, that shit needs to stop. I mean, no matter what happens, if it's on body cam, there should be an entity or a method of operation to get that footage released. If you're not doing anything wrong, and this is what they tell us all the time, if you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't mind me searching your car, or shouldn't mind asking questions, or you shouldn't mind handing over your ID. But for some reason, when it comes to them, a lot of the things they tell you change. When a cop is under investigation, they remain silent. They hire lawyers. They do all of the things that they don't want us to do when they're trying to investigate us. They start immediately invoking their rights, shutting their mouths. The union will send them away for 48 hours to give them time to, whatever they want to do. And then they come out slowly. So, when you start refusing to release body cam footage, and absolutely, when it's a scenario where 7 deputies have since been placed on leave, 2 have resigned, two have resigned and 1 has retired. That doesn't look good. Now, in addition to that, they also have released the 911 dispatch call after the police shot him, and the police are requesting medical assistance. And on the dispatch, it says that we have an individual that's down that has been shot in the back. So, and he was unarmed. And he also was unarmed. So we know he's unarmed. We know he's shot in the back. And we know all of this musical chair stuff is happening with the deputies resigning and things like that. The only thing we don't know is what the hell happened, because they won't release the body cam footage. This is going to make news. I mean, it's going to make big news. We already know when that body cam footage comes out, chances are it's not going to be good. It's just, there's very little there to make you think, well, this will be an easy one. They just, it sounds as bad as it probably is going to look. Chicago did this when they shot a guy like 16 times. They was on the ground or something like that, and it was the same thing. It took like 2 years to get the body cam footage, and it also hurt Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who was the mayor of Chicago at the time, and they've since made movies about it and everything. But yeah, the idea that cops are resistant to release body cam footage in controversial shootings is very popular and very common. They do it a lot, and that is one of the things. If you're talking about defund the police, not necessarily taking money away from the police, but reforming the police department, they need to have some type of federal law where you can get access to body cam footage. Unless there's, at the very least, it should go before a judge immediately, or some type of arbitrator that decides, is the current investigation that the cops are claiming, or the current reason they're giving for why they don't want to release the footage, is that legitimate enough to hold the footage? Because like I said, in the case of Chicago, it took 2 years for them to get that footage, and it ultimately resulted in a huge civil payout. They just were hiding the footage. There's another one that I'm thinking of that just happened recently. And once again, it's the same thing where the lawyer is like, we got clear-cut evidence that the cops are wrong, and they're hiding the footage. So yeah, they need to do something about that real quick. But at the top of the video, I definitely said this is probably going to not go very well, because I asked the question, whereas Trump and a lot of the right wing, I hear Tucker Carlson saying it, I've heard Sean Hannity saying it, I've heard just a heap of right wingers, including the late Rush Limbaugh and all of them, saying that cops kill more white people than they do black. And I heard Bill O'Reilly did a YouTube video. He has his little YouTube channel. I watch a lot of news. I watch that too. And he just said it the other day. Cops kill more white people than blacks. Hence, it can't be a racial thing. My immediate question, just out of sheer anger, is where's the fucking footage? Where's the fucking footage? I mean, if white people are being killed like George Floyd style, or the other guy from Carolina that got out of the car and took off running, and the cop just stood there and shot him 7 times in the back, there's some pretty damning footage out there of black people being killed. You're going to tell me that if this is happening to white people, everybody's just swallowing the video? Now, the primary rebuttal you get is, well, the media likes to portray black people as victims, and they're only going to show it when black people are victims. Yeah, but the media doesn't run every damn thing. We know about Obama phones. That wasn't covered on the liberal media. If an illegal immigrant comes into America and rapes somebody, that's not all over CNN and all over MSNBC. That's all over Fox. That's all over the right-wing media. So there is a legitimate claim that certain media outlets hype up certain stories and keep other stories quiet. But if there is a ton of white people getting killed, in fact, more than black people, and there is a lot of controversial black killings by cops, videos of it. So if there's actually even more of them by whites, the idea that none of those are getting out, it just makes no sense at all, because if you got people like Tucker Carlson and Trump and all of these guys saying that white people were killed more, they would want these videos released because it makes their point. So you can say it's not being shown on CNN, but the right wing has plenty of media. In fact, Fox News gets a hell of a lot more viewers than CNN. They brag about it all the time. They get a hell of a lot more viewers than MSNBC. They brag about it all the time. Rush Limbaugh was the biggest talk show host on air over everything. He bragged about it all the time. Yet you're not seeing any of this stuff, what they're claiming happens. So it's not like, the only way a white person being killed by police can be presented is if the left-wing media presents it. There's nothing stopping the right-wing media from presenting it. They're presenting shit like Aunt Jemima's syrup is gone and Dr. Seuss is gone. You want to tell me you can present that type of stuff? Or Obama phones, or, a woman using her EBT card to buy frozen shrimp? You can put that on TV, but you can't put a white guy getting shot wrongfully in the back by 5 or 6 cops? That makes absolutely no sense at all. I mean, it leads me to the only conclusion that it's not happening. I mean, it just, the idea that a story can only get out if the left-wing media controls it or puts it out, makes the right-wing media has quite a bit of power to put out stories, and they're not doing it. And let's be clear. You're watching this video right now. It's not on CNN. It's not on Fox. It's not on MSNBC. It's on fucking YouTube. YouTube, there are videos that go viral about freaking cats and babies puking and stuff. Like, you got a guy riding down the street to a Fleetwood Mac song sipping juice, and he gets millions of videos. So you're going to tell me 5 or 6 dudes getting beat up by the cops that were just totally innocent walking to the store? There's absolutely no way to get that video out there. Blacks got smartphones and they're recording this stuff right and left. You're going to tell me white people can't record something and upload it to YouTube? I don't see any problem with Candace Owens, our Hodge twins, Diamond and Silk, or any other right-wing media outlet desecrating any black person that complains about police brutality. Why not use that time to deliver the news on what happened to an unfortunate white guy? Like I said, there's tons of right-wing media out there. The idea that it's not on because the media is not delivering it, like I said, it just pisses me off because that's a lie. But, I guess that would be my question. If you truly believe that white people are being killed more by police than blacks, where are the videos? Now, I'm not saying there's 0 videos out there. There are some videos of white people being mistreated by police, but remember, it's supposed to be more than blacks. So it should be videos coming out like that. I mean, since George Floyd's trial, I just gave you 3 freaking cases in less than 7 days. And these are cases that are being videotaped. You can only imagine how much shit goes down that's not on video. But there's nothing coming from the side of white people, yet it's supposed to be more. Now, also, here's something I will say that also needs to be taken in consideration. When you start talking about the police are messing with blacks more than whites, and they go, whites are being killed more than black people, keep in mind most police brutality, most police mistreatment and corruption does not involve somebody being killed. In most cases, Rodney King was not killed. He got the shit beat out of him, but he did not die. And there's a host of that. Right now, there's another case where I believe it was an Army medic was afraid The police put the blue lights on him. They said he didn't have plates on his car. You can see in their dash cam footage that he clearly had a registration sticker in the back window. He had just bought the car. But anyway, he was afraid to pull over. So he drove with his hazards on like they tell you to do to a well-lit area. And when he got to the well-lit area, the cops were pissed off that he didn't pull over right away. He said he was scared, and their response was, "You should be." Demanded he step out of the car, ultimately pepper sprayed him, etc., etc. He wasn't killed, wasn't shot. That's what happens to a lot of people that are mistreated by police. Being stopped and frisked, you're not shot, you're not killed, you're not even beaten up. But there's a whole lot of people who are wrongfully stopped. I mean, just in reality, just getting cussed out or threatened. If you get pulled over and you're doing nothing wrong and the guy walks up and there's a gun aimed at your face for his safety and yours somehow, that's not cordial treatment. That's not the way you should be treated. If you're doing nothing wrong, you shouldn't be looking down the barrel of a gun. I will dare say that the vast majority of mistreatment by police doesn't make the news because the people comply. You know, most people are truly afraid of cops. I mean, it's not, and I don't mean afraid of cops like when they see a cop coming. They're afraid of fighting with a cop because they know it's suicide. And what I mean by that is even criminals, the mafia, gangs do not typically want police heat brought down on their spot. Even they respect police, which is why in most of these cases, the person is trying to run or get away. They're not trying to have a shootout with the police. It's the cops that are judging them to be a danger to them and shooting them proactively. Most of these people are just simply trying to get away. So, like I said, there is a genuine fear among the community for trying to violently challenge cops. It's a suicide mission. So, yeah, I mean, most people, when they are mistreated by the cops, they comply with it, and they either leave the scene angry, humiliated, or in tears, and they just go home and tell their friends and family about what happened. You know, that's what happens to the vast majority of mistreatment by cops. It's not somebody going to blows with an officer or trying to dive in a car or trying to fire at a cop and getting shot and killed. It's people that, you know, go home, like I said, in tears or humiliated or beating up the steering wheel because they're pissed off as the cop treated them like that. And that type of stuff is a very soft outcome. Even though the cop mistreated you, you weren't hurt. It's just mainly your feelings. That's not going to make the news. You talk about things that's not going to make the news. That's not going to make the news. You know, a cop hemmed you up in the middle of town and went through your pockets and took everything out of your pockets and threw it all on the ground and said, "Have a nice day." You're not going to make the 9 o'clock news with that, you know, and it's certainly not going to go probably beyond that. And that represents a whole lot of this. But I just wanted to make this, got a little bit longer than I wanted because I was angry. I had some shit I wanted to vent. And I want to ask you, do you genuinely believe that cops mistreat more white people? And I'm not talking about just shoot people who are, you know, if you're robbing a bank, or even like I said in Ma'Khia Bryant's case where she's 16 and she's stabbing somebody. I'm not faulting a shooting like that as much. I'm faulting like George Floyd type shit and the Army medic getting pepper spray. I'm talking about stuff like that. If that's happening more to white people than black people, please explain to me, give me your best definition of why there is not a lot of footage available. You know, I understand we can talk about CNN and MSNBC likes to divide us and all of that, but Fox News is clearly saying that this is happening, and they're not presenting any footage of something that would justify what they're stating. Neither was Trump. I mean, well, we know Trump said a whole lot of things he didn't justify, but I'm talking about people that's been around longer than Trump. Fox, Carlson, Hannity, Limbaugh. Why aren't they presenting tons of evidence of this? If you can present evidence of people standing around getting free Obama phones, or like I said, evidence of someone using their EBT card to buy a steak in a supermarket, you absolutely should put on TV a white dude being, you know, getting the crap, getting the shit beat out of him, and he was just simply going to the store. That should be on TV. So what is your point on that? Let me know. I'm going to ask, as I always do, if you're pissed off about this video, etc., etc., but I'm going to ask what I always ask. Like, comment, subscribe, post in the comments, and we'll talk about it. Let me go and do some shit to calm down because I'm pissed. But Chicago out.